do something wrong? We have so much to talk about. I can't wait.
So, have you visited the bowling alleys now that they're back open?
I'm thinking of the tattoo parlors.
That's a good one. I mean, I could use some more. I know it doesn't look it.
Oh my goodness!
Those actually connect when I stand like this. It makes one picture.
I can't believe we're on book 6 already.
Book 6. What did you think?
I actually loved this one. It was very, very good in that I think it had everything that I liked about the first few books.
Yeah.
Adventure, humor, and the usual stuff.
It's like all the complaints that we had, it went back into this one. It might not be like some of my favorite stories individually, but overall, it's the best one.
Oh, really? I liked them all. I just didn't think that book 6 was as rambling as the others, so I really liked it.
The guy in the fountain, I think, is my favorite story still. That one was just, it's funny. I was like book 1 or something. But like,
I know.
Individually.
Sinbad's adventures were very entertaining, I thought. And I also laughed out loud at the 3 wishes, where the man was granted 3 wishes, and then his wife said that he shouldn't.
Yeah.
Wish for a bigger people, but it just didn't work out in either of their favor. So
I remember watching like this. I like the Sinbad movies when I was little, like the ones from like the 50s and 70s. Even though the movies were more like swashbuckling entertainment, it was still like neat to see where he came from. But the one Sinbad story where he got locked in the cave, and then the woman got locked in the cave with him, so he just decides to kill the woman. Burton was like, that's just normal. The hero's gonna win. Like it was funny. I like the Sinner set of stories where it went like back and forth to see if like women were more honest or men were more honest, based on who the king should trust.
That was one of the longer ones, but I enjoyed that one as well.
And that one, I like how they broke up like the little stories within that big narrative. So like we know that the woman is lying and that the son is being honest, but like they keep going back and forth for like 200 pages. It had some of the greatest moments, like the one where the woman locked all the suitors in the cabinet as like they would come to the house and put them, and then they couldn't hold their pee any longer, so it just like trickled down and like very, very detailed scene about urinating on people. Some of the best stories in this one, it's hard to talk about. Like you said, the guy who wanted his wishes. And the one I liked too was the one where the guy owned the bath and the young man came and he wasn't very endowed, but said that he would give the bath owner a lot of money if he provided a woman. And so the man brought his wife, and it turns out that he had... And the wife...
Oh, yes.
And the wife didn't want to stop, and the man was getting so angry.
Now I remember, yes. That was very funny.
Sometimes the best parts of these books are the hardest one to say.
I just got such a kick out of that. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's the dawn of time. Men and their... I like this one. The last story wasn't my favorite. I don't really remember that one as much. I know there was like...
Gareth and his brother.
Yeah. That one was okay. But the one before it, the Judar story, I like that one. What I liked about it, in a weird way, was that it ended on such a downer. Like, the brothers, after, like, being taken care of by Judar for so long and, like, forgiven after every time they squandered all the money and, like, ruined their mother's life, they wanted the bag, so they just killed Judar, and It was like, not all stories can be happy. I really like that when it. Sorry, they're doing yard work or something. Like they're blowing leaves and it's like banging against the side of the apartment.
Yeah, that story. I mean, that story was sad in that Judor and his mother kept forgiving the two brothers. I agree with you. That was quite disheartening.
Number 6 is the best one so far, I think.
I agree. It was very adventurous and just, I don't know. I just liked it.
It's more. It was consistently the best one. Like
yes, it contained a lot of stories that I just enjoyed. It didn't have like one good one and then like 5 boring ones.
And it had like talking apes and giant crabs, and so this one had more of the adventures that you mostly associate with the night stories, with a sprinkling of the men's wishes.
Do you remember one of Sinbad's adventures? He found himself on an island. They were going somewhere, and the man got on his back, and he wouldn't get off. Do you remember that one?
It was just random stuff like that. Or Sinbad stories were nothing like the movies that I remember. Sinbad in the movies was such like a heroic character, and like fought the quicksand and the tiger's eye, fought the Cyclops. In the stories, he was kind of a jerk sometimes.
I was starting to wonder if he was ever going to learn his lesson, because he would continue to go on these adventures and he would end up in the most dire straits, and then he would wish that he was at home, and then when he finally did get home, he'd want to start, on another adventure. But so I'm hoping that book 7 will be just as entertaining.
It's probably going to be the opposite. It's probably going to be the worst one.
Some of them just go on and on about Lord knows what, and then you stop losing. I mean, you start losing track of what's going on, and I just keep moving anyway. I don't know.
I think that's what made this one work too. Is even the second story that had all the little stories in it. It was still just four stories, so it was easier to follow. So even the shorter ones, it still went back to the king with the son and the concubine. So it was kind of easier to trace the narrative as well. Where some of them just, I don't know what's going on sometimes.
Gosh, I can't believe we're already on book 7. It's gone by fast in a weird dream-like way. I don't know. And this quarantine doesn't help either.
Like you said, we can go get your tattoos now. So.
Okay, I have been waiting to discuss trust exercise. Oh my goodness. Okay, you first.
First, and when it was over, I was like, "What did I just read?" But the more I thought about it, the more I like it. And the same thing now. It's like the more I think about it, the more I like this book. And I can see why people hate it, because she doesn't just lay it all out for you. You as the reader have to do some work with this book. And I don't know, I'm on the like it side of this thing.
Here is my take on it. So, so I thought that her writing really sparkled, but the narrative itself was somewhat lackluster. I didn't care too much about reading about teenage angst and lust, but but her writing style really just carried it all for me.
I think you needed that though, because what the book is about is never blatantly stated. So you have like the teenage lust parts, and then you have the middle part where the narrator keeps saying you didn't tell the truth, you didn't tell the whole story, but there's still like this underlying like it was awkward. I will admit that. Like reading about the 15-year-olds going at it was very awkward.
And in the hallway of the school
you needed that. Like, but you don't realize that, and like you don't realize how it's icky at first, but then you get to the end. And you have to have it. It's all about power that
they feel that they have over these young.
Yeah, so like the teacher at first in the first story that's fake, you have to like it's just pieces, but they're not true. And like that's the fun thing about the title too, is like trust exercise. Like, what do you believe? So the first part, Mr. Kingsley, it's implied that he's having this relationship with Manuel, but it's not. It's not there because the story's about Sarah. And then the middle part, Karen reads it, and she was like, she got hit by it because she knows the truth, but we still don't know because Karen's still not telling us the truth, even though she's so mad that the truth's not being told, which is interesting because she can't come to terms with Mr. Kingsley, which she puts all the value on the British teacher. But by the end, which is probably the most honest part of it, you learn that Mr. Kingsley isn't actually gay, but he's taking advantage of all these young girls, and like even tries to the point where he tries to take advantage of his own daughter that he doesn't even realize is his daughter, but we know based on clues from the whole story. Nothing is laid out nice and neat. Nothing's tied up with a little bow. But as you take these little pieces, it's a very interwoven story.
So I guess with the disparate pieces, you can sort of gather them together and see the whole picture, I guess, of what she was trying to convey.
Correct. Yeah. But like nothing is true, but there's truth to the fiction. The first two stories, like even Karen stays with the other characters and says multiple characters equal one person, but she never quite says what it is. And though she tries so hard to be like what's honest, so she like defines words and like where they come from. This is true, but what she says isn't. And like it comes to the point where as she's telling the story to I don't know who, she goes as far to make up the ending to the second part. She never shoots the man in the crotch. So her own story becomes this whole fiction about like her wanting revenge in a way for this teacher that took advantage of her when they were kids. And we still don't know any characters' names except for the Mr. Kingsley at the end of the story. It keeps implying Karen's mom's the secretary somewhere. But like you never quite know. So you can infer that when the old secretary at the end sees the girl and says, "You look familiar," it's like the key, and the rest of it's a map that you're trying to like wade through, but like can't trust anything. Like you can't trust these male figures that they all looked up to. I wouldn't recommend it to like almost anyone because they probably hate it because it's not like it's not like neat and tied up, but I can see why it won the National Book Award. But you have to put work into it. Like you couldn't. It's not one of those beach reads where it just laid out for you. When I closed it, I had to sit there and go, "What just happened?" Like,
yeah.
And it took me probably like 2 or 3 days to kind of keep piecing it together. And like I said, the more I think about it, the more I enjoy it.
Oh, I agree with you. And okay, so I am so embarrassed to admit this because I pride myself on how observant I am sometimes. So it wasn't until after I finished the book that I realized the cover of the book, how it's covered in the green chairs. At first, before I read it, I don't know if I just didn't look at it closely enough. I thought, oh, it's just a design of like teal and orange. But after I read it, the chairs were evident. So it was almost like a Rorschach blot. And I don't know why. I picked it up again after I finished it and thought, oh wait. So that was really weird.
Well, that's exactly what the book's about. Like you think you see it, but you don't, and then you do, and then.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. That is it. That's it.
I do agree about the writing style. Like I liked the first part when you find out it's actually like a novel, because at first it was just like trying so hard to be this great literary thing, and then you find out that it's supposed to be some sort of book, and she's toying with you with how she writes it, because the Karen part in the middle was written in a completely different way, and I love the dynamic of the two writing styles. I enjoyed it. I can see why people don't, but. So,
during the middle part where Karen where it's mostly about Karen. I just thought it was interesting how she switched between like first person Karen and then to like third person.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I love that because like it even goes to show further that like what do you believe, and like after these terrible events happen, how do you tell this story that you're like blocking out, because the whole story's blocked out and the only hint of any sort of truth is like 10 pages at the end of the book. It's almost like they're dropped in for no reason. And even that story, like they don't the I forget the girl's name, but she doesn't even know the story, which is like another layer to this book because she's trying to figure out who her birth mother is.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Oh, I don't know if I enjoyed it. I can appreciate it.
Yes, I have to agree with you. How would you rate it out of 5 stars?
I gave it 4. But now seeing all the pieces, I mean, not anytime soon, but if I ever read it again, it'd be interesting to trace. Now knowing, going back.
Well, I think that's what makes it a good book, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I mean, but as you said, you do have to invest like a lot of intellectual work.
It's good for it. It's good for the brain.
Yes.
What would you rate it?
Oh, I would probably give it a 4 too. I've been thinking about it, and I've wavered between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. 4 suits it. Oh, I think that's just books that make you think, like The Silent Patient. You sort of have to sit back and think about it for a while after you finish it, and that book was very similar to this in a different way too. Well, I guess it does take some analyzing, and I guess if you don't, you sort of take it at face value, and all you see, is what we had mentioned earlier.
If you just take it at face value, it doesn't add up to anything. It's little clues where nothing in the book is real. And I like how each chapter, there's 3 chapters, and each one's called Trust Exercise. Oh, I told Colby about this too. One of the things I noticed that was really fascinating is that the margins are perfect for holding it with your thumb. That alone would earn the National Book Award. That was a genius move.
There's a lot of thought just went into that book in general. Okay, so yes, I have some other books that I wanted to quickly share. This one, as you said, was so good, so lyrical. It was just so beautiful. I really enjoyed reading it. I mean, I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did, but it really worked.
Oh, I liked how there was the story interwoven through it, but some of the poems, it could be standalone, but since it was part of this narrative world, it almost like set the mood. Like how she kept introducing the moon and like the different variations of the moon. I really enjoyed what she did.
I usually don't read books like this, but I'm so glad that you told me to.
I thought this would work. It's not going to work. Divinity Jacob. I'll put a picture. Colby read it and she hated it so much. She was like, read this book so I can complain about it. So
yes, that's the one.
I read
it
for her. And they're making that TV show. There's some great things in there that would work really well for a TV show, but the book on a whole, I think the writing style is what killed it. Like there's courtroom transcripts kind of things that are like very believable, and like those parts are like you feel like you're in the courtroom. It's very well done, but the other parts are. Okay. I'd at least watch the show though.
I mean, did you like it?
I didn't hate it as much as Colby did.
I also read The Dearly Beloved. Can you see that?
Yeah.
The Dearly Beloved. Okay. It's by Carol Wall. I picked it up first because the cover is so pretty. So it follows these 4 people who end up as couples, and it's mainly about their beliefs and how it shapes and forms their relationships. And I mean, it sounds boring, but it's actually better. I I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure if it's because I enjoy reading about topics like that. But it, just a nice. I don't know if it's heartwarming. I mean, because there are some parts and certain character traits about one particular character that I just really didn't care for, and I just really didn't think that I would ever really hate a character. But there was one person in here who was just very, very difficult to like.
So what would you?
Yeah.
What would you give it?
Probably a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, you don't have to dig for any other meanings in that book.
Hashtag murder trending for the teen book club that never happened. That's a.
Oh, so did you enjoy that one as much as Mayor did?
You know, the whole thing. Part of the reason I picked it is because it seemed so absolutely stupid to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it won like the Teen Choice Award a couple years ago. I was like, well, let's see what it is. For all of its faults, I actually kind of enjoyed it. Now it's not great. It's not a great book, but it's like it's self-referential. I'd want to compare it to Hunger Games, but because she makes jokes about it being like the Hunger Games, like an 80s movie in a way, because like the villains are so dumb. They're so over the top stupid. You ever seen Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
Okay, well, like those over the top like villains in that one, the Gucci killer that like hung people with scarves, and like this woman who killed people with arts and crafts. It was just so dumb. There was supposed to be like the big twist that wasn't like that great or shocking, but it had a good pace, and like I said, it was so over the top. Guilty pleasure experience.
Have you started the sequel?
No, not yet. I can see it from here though. It's right there. It was a dumb kind of fun.
Nothing to see here?
Oh yeah, how was that?
Oh my gosh, Ryan! That book is so unique and bizarre that I could not help but like it. So it's basically about Lily Brooks, her experiences, and how she comes to care for these kids who spontaneously combust. It was sad and then funny at turns, and it was just a good story overall. I've never read a story like it. Very unique. So I think that was a major plus, I guess. And the ending was heartwarming, but you could sort of see where it was going though. But yeah, I mean, just the premise of it was just strange. I kept seeing the cover and thought, what can this possibly be about? And then, like, yeah, so that was one of the reasons why I chose it.
Hey, I want to say I read a short story. It was by that author that I really
yes,
enjoyed.
Wilson?
I think it was by him. It was about, like, these kids playing, like, the ultimate hide-and-seek games, and their families thought they were lost. So I've been curious about that book.
My star rating would probably be between 4 and 5. Okay, so what else do you have?
A lot of quarantine, a lot of time. So I started reading Bad Guys. I was curious. It's no Dog Man, but it's for younger kids, especially transitioning from like beginner readers to like chapter books. I guess it's a perfect book for them. It was silly, but it had like enough pictures versus words, and I don't know, good stuff. This Cursed Sword one, like I'm no expert on manga books, but like you could tell this one's from the 90s. I don't know. I thought it was fun, and I kept going with this one. This one didn't have the Attack on Titan. This one didn't have those moments like the first one, but it's they got to carry on the series some sort of way. So I don't know. It intrigues me. And then I finished this giant Thor comic book, which wasn't great. Movie Thor is a lot more entertaining than comic book Thor. The movies like got closer to Endgame. Like Chris Hemsworth got funnier and funnier. Just Chris Hemsworth's just a funny guy. Some smart moves for the movies, I guess, using the humor that's not really found in the story where his whole all his people die and he has to like pluck out his eyes. I don't know. It was
Gosh, okay.
broodingly serious in the books sometimes.
Oh, really?
But it does have this character named Beta Ray Bill or something that I've never heard of before. And he's this. Let me find a good picture of him here. Camel-looking monster. But he's like a good guy, and like the whole last part of the book's about him, and I've never encountered that before. So he was an interesting character. What else you got?
Wait, oh gosh, a woman is no man. Wait, is that too bright?
I can find a picture. I'll put it right on top.
Oh my goodness, this one. Oh gosh, it was just so sad and just so poignant. So it's basically about these different generations of women and how they are bound by cultures, traditions, and religion. Well, they're Palestinian women.
Okay.
So you can only imagine.
Is it fiction or nonfiction?
It's fiction. But she did such a great job of just describing their inner emotions and how they feel so trapped and are just unable to really move beyond their beliefs, I guess. I mean, but that would be hard. I mean, gosh, I probably didn't explain that very well. I mean, that didn't do it justice. I thought it was a wonderful book. I would give it 5 stars.
Okay.
Just so, yeah, heart-wrenching. And you just couldn't help but just root for them and just hope that they, can break away from just the bonds of culture. I mean, but then again, you really can't. I guess they immigrated to the U.S. from Palestine, but they still were bound by, Ezra is one of the characters, and she immigrated from Palestine to Brooklyn, New York, to be with her husband. Yeah, but oh gosh, what comes out at the end was just so sad. But it also had a happy ending in that her daughter Daya was able to make different choices from her mom. I mean, even though it took a lot of courage to break away from what her grandparents felt was her destiny. Most of them dreamt for so much more, and I'm so glad that I think the character Daya was able to make something happen for herself. 5 stars.
So did you read any nonfiction?
I am working on one now. Yes, I mean it's been mostly fiction. I can't believe it.
So
but yes, I mean I do read some nonfiction, but I just haven't finished any to share with you today.
So you're saying that I read more nonfiction than you this time?
I think so.
By 1?
You finished it?
The Jim Henson biography. That took me...
That is a beast. Look at how thick it is.
Took me a while. I started it like over the summer and then had to like turn it and get it again. Find time to just finish it. I read a couple like biography kind of things in high school, but like this is like the first one and any time recent that I've read how like in depth it goes into someone's life and like broke it down like by 2-year spans at a time and stuff at some points. But
sometimes I think that's what makes biographies so difficult to read. They get so tedious and in like the lineage and I mean, but I guess that's part of what makes biographies. I mean, the background story for.
But
so like that one.
I've been a huge Jim Henson fan since I can remember. Since like some of my earliest memories involve Sesame Street, that kind of thing. Seeing like over time, like him building all these movies and shows that I like basically grew up with, seeing certain aspects of them that no one ever talks about, like certain affairs and whatnot, was kind of surprising. But like, and I knew the ending because I remember when he died. Like that was the first thing about like death that I can really remember. And so like I knew how this book was going to end, And even as he's describing the funeral, like, I'm getting all misty-eyed. Like, I don't know. It was... You have to be very interested in Jim Henson, though, to enjoy the book, I think. That's all it is for month 1 of quarantine on my end. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Wow, okay. Well, we were able to get through a lot of books, so we're on to book 7 now. Wow, I can't believe it.
Book 7. What did we decide for next time?
Gosh, I don't know. What do you think? Do you want to try nonfiction?
See what we can find on here. True crime. Social science.
Oh.
Let's see, what's under social science? There's a lot of choices on here. H is for Hawk, and it's got a bunch of John Krakauer. The Information. James Gleick? I don't know what that is, but I like the cover. It's just a bunch of circles.
Oh, I see. Against Everything.
A collection of essays by a young writer. You want to do that one?
Do you want to? Yeah.
I have no idea what it is, so you know that's how I work. The less I know about it.
Okay.
All right. It will be Mudbound.
And I just happened to be online one day, and I saw that somebody had posted, since this quarantine began, I haven't seen anyone posting about how blessed they are to have their spouse or how great their significant other is. And I just found that funny.
We'll get to Kafka on the Shore either next time or 8 years from now or whenever. I can't tell you the last time that I've put on anything besides like gym shorts. Like I'm every meeting, every work meeting I've been to currently, I've been dressed like a mullet, where it's like business up top, but like party downstairs. Like, I am digging it.
So we're gonna go with the
Mudbound. Yeah.
And how do you cut hair and do nail from 6 feet away? It defines our rationale.